Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are live. We're back. New week, new Saturday. This is the Power Plug Radio. Jumpstart your business with your host, Stephanie A. Wynn. We are live and I'm super excited because this is the last Saturday of January. Can you believe that? Woo! The last Saturday. So, I want to this week's topic is going to be good. During the show, during this power hour, I'm going to bring to you some good business tips and information about starting your business, being an author, and I hope that you all can take away some really good tips and just think about where you want to be. We're already at the end of the first month in the first quarter. So we're entering the second month of the first quarter, meaning we only have 2 more months in this quarter and we're already down a quarter, right? So we need to be more intentional about what it is we want to do as far as our business is concerned. So again, welcome to Power Plug Radio. Jumpstart your business with Stephanie A. Wynn. And today's weather, I think the high is going to be like 71, 72. The low is going to be 60 something. Like, that is just ridiculous. Like, it's freezing. Like, as you can see, like, I have on layers this morning because it's cold outside. And when it's cold outside, who are you holding? Let me stop. So, okay. So this week, right? So this we I always like to talk about self-care. Like, how are you taking care of yourself? What did you do this week to um, take care of you? Like, did you take time out for a self-care day? Like, what did you do this week to do something nice to yourself? So I'll share with you what I did this week. What I did, actually what I did was I actually got a haircut this week. I know that sounds simple, but when your hair looks good, you feel good, right? When you get that haircut, you get that fresh cut. You just feel so great. So I got a haircut this week, and um, it felt good. It really felt good. So what did you do? What are you going to do? For those that didn't do anything, what are you going to do to make, you know, take better care of yourself and to do a self-care day? Commit to one self-care day each month so that you can be better and be great, right? So let's get into this week's topic, right? It's so good. Feel really good about this. I talked to my business coach, mentor, and we always share like topics of what is going to move the audience or thought provoking questions, right? About business. So this is um the business partnership. This is the topic for this week. The business partnership. Many of us as business owners, we've at some point of our entrepreneurship journey, you've entered into a business partnership. You've partnered with people. Some may say, well, what is a business partnership? Well, you've partnered with people who are you thought were good business partners. Some worked, some didn't work. So we're going to talk about that this week. So we're going to get right into the questions. I want to send a shout out to all of our listeners on Facebook, on the website, powerplugradio.com, Google Play, those that are listening via the app, and Alexa and Apple. Can you believe that we're on Apple? Yes. For my Apple users, we're on Apple. So good morning, Miss Lisa. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. And again, like, share with your friends because this topic this week, I truly believe. Last week we talked about confidence, having the confidence, right? So this week I want to talk about the business partnership. what is a business partnership? So the partnership is where you have selected a partner or partners to go into. You all have this business idea and you want to go into business together, right? For you all have one common goal, right? And that may be to make money or bring awareness about something, or, impact the community. Whatever that type of partnership is, you've decided to go into business with a partner or partners, right? So the first question I want to Testing, testing. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can type yes, no, maybe so. Okay. So, you might want to check your end, Lisa, because everybody else say they can hear me. Okay, so the the important part of this is when you're talking with your partners, you have to communicate. Communication is vital. It's vital. A little. Okay. She said so communication is vital, So again, if there's no communication, when there's a red flag, there's another red flag, right? There's another red flag. So let's talk about that red flag. When there's no communication, what is your next move? If there's no communication when the deadline wasn't met. She can hear now. Okay. What do you do when there's no when the deadline wasn't met and there's no communication from your partner, your business partner? How do you handle that? How do you fix that? What do you do if there's no communication? So, do you you want to make sure that on the back end with your audience, you want to make sure that you're talking to your partners. Like you want to make sure that it's clear of what's happening here. Like somebody on the other end, huh? Okay. So you want to make sure, I'm sorry, y'all, we having technical difficulties. We're trying to get this together. But let's go back. You want to make sure that on the back end with your audience, seeing red flags, you want to make sure that partner, you're talking to your partners. Like you want to make sure that it's clear of what's happening here. Like somebody on the other end, huh? Okay. So you want to make sure, I'm sorry, y'all, we having technical difficulties. We're trying to get this together. But with you, let's go back. You want to make sure that on the back end with your audience, seeing red flags, you want to make sure that you're talking to your partners. Like you want to make sure that the question I was it's clear before was, Stephanie, what if my partner doesn't like to communicate? What if they get offensive when you bring up this issue? What do I do in that moment? Then that's where you have to be the bigger person, and you have to talk this out. Like it's a must. You have to bring this to the attention, because if you're in a partnership where you can't communicate with your partner, then we're gonna go back to the first question that I asked. How do you know if this partnership is a good fit? Then that's when you know that it's not a good fit. If you cannot communicate with your business partner about a deadline that wasn't met or a project that wasn't fixed, then you know that's a red flag. If you can't communicate with them, right, then we need to have a discussion about like what's the next move, because No, you don't want to just give up on the partnership on the first red flag. But if you can't even discuss the first red flag issue, you might want to start thinking about how you're going to handle any future projects, because you're seeing this red flag for a reason. And the reason why I want to talk about the business partnership is because a lot of us get involved in business partnerships and we don't do our due diligence first. We feel like I need this person to do something, or I need to bring them on board. We need to partner together to or collaborate together to do or bring about this very thing, right? And in all actuality, like, you really don't need this partnership. Now you can you got me too. Okay. Thank you. So you can definitely be strategic in how you bring on board. You partner with different business owners, like with vendors. Like, you might need to outsource vendors for certain projects. That's fine. But when you start seeing red flags in the beginning of the partnership, and then you can't communicate with this partner when this red flag is, especially when it's a client, it's going to affect your client that is paying you for a service or a product. Yeah, we have a problem there. That's where my next question is going to come into play. So, excuse me. So if you all want to tune in to the discussion, the business partnership, dial in 727-686-0512. Remember, we're talking about the business partnership this Saturday, because this is so key. A lot of us have, and I know this for a fact, 9 out of 10 people who are doing have a business. They are they're in partnerships, and they feel like they need people to be in partnership with them. And it may look good when you see what the other person is doing, but when you bring your brand and their brand together and it does not mesh well together, then you have to protect your brand quickly, immediately, right? So the first question was, for those that just are tuning in, how do you know if the business partnership is a good fit? What do you do when you see red flags, and what's your next move, right? And then, do you have a discussion about the red flag? So when you talk about having a discussion about a red flag, and you say you have a partner that does not like to communicate well at all, they're the behind the scenes, they rather just work, they don't want to talk about any issues, or if issues arise, you tell them about the issue, they get upset or get offended. How do you handle that? Like, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, what do you do? So let me break this down. When you have a partner that is unwilling to cooperate, or you both cannot seem to get on the same page, somewhere in your operation or your partnership agreement, you should have this outlined of what happens in the event that we can't resolve, like, issues. You should have a resolution disclosure or disclosure in your agreement, right? Where if we can't resolve an issue that directly affects the client, we need to do this, this, and this. But for the sake of your brand, and because you're working in integrity when you're dealing with clients, your client shouldn't know the dysfunction that's going on between you and your partnership, like the business partnership. Your client shouldn't know that at all, right? Oftentimes I'll go, if I support a business and let's say they're late on the processing time is delayed, and they'll say, well, they'll say it's somebody else's fault. Well, we couldn't get to your order because, my staff, or no, that's none of my business. That's none of my business. If your staff couldn't get, or they were short, or you didn't have enough people, your client shouldn't know that. They shouldn't know that there's a breakdown in the back office. They shouldn't. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So when let's say you have that partner that does want to communicate and you can get through to them, and it's, we're fixing a problem. They say, hey, I need help. I didn't meet the deadline because I got overwhelmed, or it could have been just an oversight, right? Maybe their time management skills. Maybe they need to work on, creating a budget for their time. I talk about this all the time. We have to create a budget for our time. Can't keep making excuses as to why things don't get done. Create a budget for your time. Needs to get done. Use your calendar for everything. Even budget for the incidental interruptions. So if someone texts you, you put aside an hour. You have to make sure that your time of not uninterrupted time, like if someone texts you or call you unexpectedly, that is a part of your budget for your time. Yes. So David said, good morning, David. When in a partnership with another individual, the other partner starts to expect you to do most of the work, then wants the profits to be still 50-50. That's true. And that is true in some cases. And here's the deal, David. That's a good statement there. Also in a partnership, when you're in a partnership, like I talk about the ships all the time at the end of the segment, because your partnership, it must be solid. It doesn't matter if you see a red flag, right? Let's say one of your partners may have, I'll use me for an example. I have Crohn's disease, right? And so sometimes I can't get out the bed. So literally sometimes most of my podcast recordings, believe it or not, are in the comfort of my room, because sometimes I can't get out of bed, right? Because it's so debilitating. So, but me being me, because I'm intentional and I know that I have to get this word out to the people, I'm going to do by any means necessary to get my podcast recorded, right? So again, we're talking about if my partner doesn't show up for their end of the deal, it needs to be made clear in that operation agreement, that partnership agreement, because the reason why I say that is because the expectations are already there. We know what it's going to be. If someone doesn't show up or they miss a deadline, you have all areas covered. And you need to have a partner that if either one of y'all are short on something, that other partner is going to come up and make up the difference on the other partner. We're not even going to talk about money right now. We're going to talk about being solid in the partnership, because the money is going to come. Let's talk about being solid. No point fingers at, well, you didn't do this, I had to do this. But that other person, maybe they were ill. Maybe they couldn't do something because they were sick. Or maybe they just didn't have the bandwidth. Remember I talk about that bandwidth. If this project requires 20% and your partner is only working with 10% of mental bandwidth, you need to come up with that other 10 to get this 20% to get this project done, right? I'm just saying. That's what that is a true business partnership. It doesn't matter. We're not going to talk about the money because the profit is going to come. If you have a solid business partner or partners, all of this is made clear in the agreement. If you don't come, this is what you need to say. This is what you need to take note and ask yourself. If I see a red flag in the beginning and a project and a deadline was missed, how are you going to handle that? Are you going to communicate with your partner that this deadline was missed? Or are you not going to say anything, just do it yourself? and just allow this to keep building up. And then once you get tired, you explode. You can't do that either. So let's see what the people have to say. Lisa said, so Margaret said, yes, time is something that when you spend it, you can't get back. Guard your time, right? That's right, Miss Margaret. Okay. Lisa said, what about having family members as partners? Sad, but I don't see a lot of that in our culture. Well, Lisa, so my family, my grandfather had a lawn service, and my uncles and my dad, they used to work the lawn business, and probably was because they had to, right? But even if there was dysfunction or they were disgruntled about working in that business, they worked the business and it didn't show on the customer side. So if somebody didn't come through with, you know, their end of if somebody wasn't able to go that day to work with my grandfather, they still was able to maintain his lawn business. And so much that my uncles, they ventured out and got their own businesses, right? So again, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but I teach my sons about entrepreneurship. In fact, they know how to operate a business. I'm teaching them that. But you got to teach them, you know, and you got to have the trust there. You don't see it a lot, but again, some people have nonprofit foundations that's a family owned, you know what I'm saying? It's a part of a family. You know, you can look at that because of nonprofits, they're still a business. You still got to get funding. So it's still, you look at it as a business. But there are some families that do have, you know, families, yeah, it's rare. But again, let's talk about this partnership. Like, your partnership has to be solid. And the communication has to be there. It has to be there. That's right, Margaret. Margaret said the relationship has to be equitable and respectful. Communication is critical. It's important that you take every aspect seriously. That's correct. Partners are supposed to be willing to cover each other in front of the people that you do business with. That is correct. So let's go into the next question. Once you've had this discussion with your partner or partners and they don't give you the response that you were expecting. So let's say, well, it went way to the left. It didn't go well. The discussion didn't go well. So you decide, do you get upset, or do you be the bigger person and say, hey, listen, like, we have a business to run. We got to make sure that there are no holes in our ship. How do you handle that if the other partner says, I'm not doing that? No, whatever, I'm not doing that. Like, so what? I missed the deadline. What do you do? Do you dissolve the business and walk away? And if so, when do you do it? Do you wait until another red flag show up? Let's talk about that. If you see a red flag, you've already determined that there was a red flag in the business partnership. You address the red flag. The communication was a little shaky. They didn't like that you brought this issue to the forefront. And I'm saying, don't go in it, you did this and you messed up. No, that's not the way you go about bringing up the red flag. You simply say, hey, this project X was due on this date. We missed the deadline. Do you know what happened? Simple as that. Do you know what happened? Because the people want to know what happened to this deadline. I was expecting this at a certain date, right? So do you quit the partnership? Emotional intelligence, develop a track record for the course of action, set boundaries and be consistent. Yeah, that's true. So do you just dissolve, say, hey, I'm out, I can't? Or do you let another red flag come up? You now we're talking about time. You know, the time. I'm allowing this to build up. and then you only gonna get so many red flags before you can't before you're now we're talking about your brand and you're jeopardizing the brand, the integrity of your business, right? So when the first, I believe this is just my opinion. If you see a flag in the beginning, that flag is not there for just by chance, right? You address that first flag. If you cannot get a resolve from that first flag and that discussion about the first flag, you really need to go back to the drawing board and you really need to consider who you're in business with, because that will determine how your ship will sail. Your ship might be sinking and you don't even know it, or you're not paying attention enough to know that you have holes. And the holes is in the communication. We remember the holes is in the community. The communication is key. If you can't communicate with your business partner, then what do you have, right? So let's see what time it is. It is 10:30. We are going to take a pause for the cause and we're going to go on a little break. But we will be back to finish this discussion because your business takeaways this week is going to be really good. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Oh, it wasn't even on. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. We are back, girl. This is user error this time, y'all. I ain't even have the microphone on, so I'm sorry. All right. So we are back, right? So we talked about before the break, we talked about, when you see the red flags, how do you make a decision? Do you move? Do you dissolve the business? And I know it's not as simple as I stated, but when your brand and your integrity is your character is on the line, sometimes you have to make a move ASAP. You cannot allow another red flag to come up because that may jeopardize your brand, your individual brand, because now you're attached to something that, number one, doesn't care about what you had, what the overall purpose and goal of the business partnership was, right? So you have to definitely protect yourself. Now, I'm not saying there may be an option to salvage this partnership, but you might be on pins and needles because you're always going to be waiting for something else to come up. And then at that point, what do you do? And then even if it may cost you money to get out of this partnership, but I promise you, it will save you so much headache in the long run. I promise you, right? So once you have decided to dissolve the business, say, you guys had a discussion, they finally talked to you, said, I think the direction that we're headed is not what I had envisioned for the partnership. So I think it's best that we dissolve the partnership, the business, and we go on in a different direction. You're going to go in a different direction. The partner is going to go in a different direction. And so again, it's not going to always be cut and dry to do this. I know. I'm just saying for the purposes of this topic, right? So when you decide to dissolve the business and walk away, once you have decided to dissolve the business, do you venture out on your own and start your own business because you're so passionate about what you do? You have a purpose, you have a vision. What do you do? Let's talk about that. What do you do? Or do you just stay stuck and say, the partnership didn't work out, I'm not going to do any more business, but deep down inside, you feel that drive is just in you, that fire inside of your belly, right? You want to continue on with this very thing. It didn't work out. So you want to make sure that you keep going. So let's talk about it. Miss Margaret said, definitely. When I had a partner, I used our mission statement to revisit the focus and ensure we were all still in agreement on where we were going. When we were not, I bounced. Okay. David said it's important to see the partner's work habits because people talk a good talk, see what they have accomplished and on their own. Yeah, that's cool. And then Margaret said maybe if you have all the pieces solo, you do, or you form something different that you can do. So, right. So if it's something that, you want to do solo, yeah, you continue moving on. Like, listen, when I started my ice cream shop at the age of 23, I had no point of reference. I was it. Now, I did have my spouse at the time. We were in it together as partners. Financially, we were in it. I was married. And there are some business partnerships where it involves a husband and wife team. And on that level, you really have to get an understanding because now not only is it husband and wife, you also have to be business minded. And you still have to know when to be the wife, when to be the husband, and vice versa. Like, you have to make sure that it's going to be a good fit, right? So, again, do you stop or do you just keep going? Lisa said you keep going, and if partnership is needed, that will happen again. So let me tell you, we talked last week about having confidence, right? What's keeping you from having that confidence to start the business or to write the book. And so this is where your confidence is going to come into play. If you decide to keep going and start your own solo business venture, you have to build, that's where that confidence come in. You're building the confidence to know that you can do this very thing that you are passionate about doing, right? So again, you're not going to give up. You're going to keep going because we know what giving up does, right? And sometimes when we give up, we lose a little bit of ourself. because you're going to always say, dang, I should have did this. Maybe I should have, went about it a different way. Or maybe I could have done this, this, and this. Especially if you know that what you were providing to your audience was of value and you were solving a solution to your audience problem. You gotta keep going. Listen, you can do whatever you put your mind to. If it's a business you want to start the business. The people that you need, they will come. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to get in a partnership with them, right? You might be the founder of this very thing, but you have a team. You're building that team of people that can help you move to that 20% of this journey for this project, right? Your team. Maybe it's a marketing person. Maybe it's a social media manager. Maybe it's a lawyer, a business law and trademark attorney that you need on your team. Like, these are the people that you may need to, have on your team instead of getting into a partnership. Now, I'm not saying partnerships aren't good. They are. And if they work well for some, that's great. But not everybody can handle being in partnership with other people because the way they do business, their mindset may not be there. Remember, I always talk about the mindset. You always want to have a growth mindset because you always want to grow. Just because you do this certain thing well, that doesn't mean that you can't grow from someone else, right? So I'm going to give the business tips takeaway for the week. You guys are ready to write this down. So remember, like, when we talk about the business partnership, we talking about like coming together with more than one person, people with different personalities. You're bringing all of that together and you're all are on the same page for the same cause, right? So make sure that the partnership, when you're deciding to go into a partnership, number one, you want to make sure that the partnership has one common goal for the business. That you all are in agreement with the one common goal. You all have one common goal. We know you're going to make money. The goal is to make money. But is it to bring exposure to something, to do something, to produce something? Bring about, exposure to this very thing. You got to have that same common goal in common, right? Number two, communication is key and can eliminate those red flags. Remember, the red flags in the beginning, if you have really great communication, it will eliminate the red flags and it would allow for the partnership, the business partnership, to thrive and grow. You gotta have that communication. If you don't have no communication, you have nothing. That's in all relations. That's in all ships. Partnership, relationships, entrepreneurships. Gotta have that communication. And number three, you must be flexible in the business partnership. Meaning, you may have to shift some responsibility sometime. So if you're an expert in social media marketing, then maybe, and your partner is like, just on point with it. Your partner can get engagements. They can get the people to follow. They can get the people to convert. Then maybe you need to remove yourself from social media management and pass it on to your partner. Let them handle that. And you focus on something else that you can do within the business. So you got to be flexible when you're in a partnership. Remember, entrepreneurship is not for the weak or the weary. This is Entrepreneurship 101. You talk about business partnerships. This is it. This is it, right? So the 3 business tip takeaways for the week. Make sure the partnership has one common goal for the business. 2, communication is key. The communication is key and can eliminate the red flags. And 3, You must be flexible in the business partnership. You may have to shift. You gotta be you may have to shift some responsibilities, or you may have to shift how you approach certain things. You gotta be flexible, right? So if you want to call in to join this discussion, 727-686-0512. I want to thank you all for tuning in live this Saturday morning. Thank you all on Facebook for tuning in. And again, like we're talking about this week, the business partnership. The business partnership. Some startups are considering this. I'm speaking to even my startups, even the ones who are already established and they have partnerships. We're talking about those who are thinking about getting into a partnership. What do you do? How do you handle those red flags? And don't tear down your partner. The goal is to build each other up. The goal is to have effective communication where you all are constantly in communication with each other. Even if it means, giving them corrective criticism. The only way you can grow, how can you grow and you don't have a growth mindset? Remember, you got to have a growth mindset in anything that you do, whether it's personal development, business partnership. You have to have an open mindset, growth mindset, right? So this is the part of the show where we close out with these ships. It's crazy that I talked about the business partnership because partnership is one of the ships. So at some point on your entrepreneurship journey, you will encounter some type of ship. Friendships, relationships, partnerships, entrepreneurship, companionships. Whatever ship you choose, make sure that your ship is free from holes and that it is solid. I'm going to go back to this topic this week. When you're going into a partnership, you want to make sure that your partner is going to have your back and vice versa. Meaning, if you miss that deadline, your partner will quickly pick up the pieces and make it right. Your partner will not leave you out there sinking. They're going to make sure the ship is solid and that the ship continues to sail. Does that make sense? Type a yes in the comments if y'all are feeling me this week. Does that make sense? Like, you have to make sure your ship is solid and free from holes. Right? All right. Chandra say yes. All right. I mean, come on. Got to be free from holes. So, does anybody? Okay, here we go. Lisa Margaret said the role play in the spouse partners can get complex. Yes, it can. Yes, it can, Miss Margaret. Yes, it can. I've been there, done that. Lisa said, let your partner soar in their role just as you should and assist each other when needed. Totally agree. However, the goal should remain the same: success. That's right. That is so true. Remember, you all have to have one common goal in common. Right? We know that we're going to make money in this partnership, but we want to make sure at the end of the day that this ship is solid. It's solid. Thank you all for tuning in to the Jumpstart Your Business with Stephanie A. Wynn. Be sure to tune in every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Power Plug Radio is the home of the Throwback Jams. You can tune in on Facebook live every Saturday. You can also go to powerplugradio.com, Amazon Alexa, play Power Plug Radio, and we're on Apple. So if you want to call in to join the discussion, you can also call in each week, 727-686-0512. To follow me, you can follow me at Stephanie A. Wynn on all social media platforms. It's Stephanie A. Wynn. My website is stephanieawynn.com. Thank you all for tuning in this week. Have a good week.